Continuing now with our lead story, the divisive case of Michael Brown and police officer Darren Wilson, who shot him to death. Today, President Obama held a meeting at the White House involving a big group of people.
To hear young people feeling marginalized and distrustful even after they've done everything right. That's not who we are. And I don't think that's who the overwhelming majority of Americans want us to be.
Also in St. Louis yesterday, 5 pro football players, members of the Rams, entered the field with their arms raised in tribute to the Don't Shoot protest movement. Joining us now from Washington, Mary Catherine Hammond, Juan Williams. All right, Juan, what about the NFL deal? Appropriate?
Yeah, I think it was appropriate. I mean, my only criticism would be apparently they didn't tell the coach, and I think it's a team game. I think you should tell the coach. But sports is such a large platform in American life. I think back to John Carlos, Tommy Smith. I think about some people wearing hoodies after Trayvon Martin. You know, the Clippers coming out with their uniforms on backwards to protest Donald Sterling's racist comments. So I think that that's appropriate, nonviolent, certainly non-rioting, and I think pro athletes should do more of it, I think.
What do you think, Mary Catherine?
Yeah, it didn't really bother me. If the NFL has rules about political expression or free speech expression on the field, they should punish fairly across the board and make that the rule. But in this case, I thought it was nonviolent and fairly appropriate. And here's the thing. The folks who came to the NFL asking for action was a police officers group, which makes me a little squeamish when you're saying, well, law enforcement can say I have an issue with this political speech, so let's get rid of it. I think the answer is more speech, not less.
What if you are, Juan, a police officer at the St. Louis Stadium, and you're doing crowd control, as they have in every stadium, and you go out and you see, you know, these guys come out of the tunnel with their arms raised, don't shoot, which connotes the fact that they believe, I guess, that white police officers shoot black youths all the time. Now, we just debunked that with the statistics. We just showed more than 43 million African Americans are in the country, and 123 were shot by police bullets in the latest statistics available. So that's not an epidemic. It's not crazy. It's not a hunting down of black youth. So you're a cop and you're doing your job and you see this. How would you feel, Juan?
Well, I think you went a bit too far in making the connection that they think that that's all cops all the time. Clearly, from your own statistics, that's not true. And I'll tell you, I mean, you know, the threat to the big
if you raise your hand in protest, in sympathy with the Don't Shoot protest movement, the Don't Shoot protest movement says white cops are hunting down black youth to shoot them.
Can be a little less simple.
That's not what I think. I don't think that's what the protest is about. I think it's about the actions of Officer Wilson shooting an unarmed young man who was belligerent, possibly even criminal in terms of his actions with stealing the cigars, but they took his life. So I think that the protest is about that, not this thing about all cops all the time. I was going to say to you earlier that I'm a black man, and I got to tell you, police protect me. But I also know about stop and frisk, racial profiling, things that a lot of black people
and there's an effect, which again we pointed out. Go ahead, Mary Catherine.
Yeah, I have no doubt that some police officers were offended, which is why some spoke out, even as a group of law enforcement association. But when you're offended, it doesn't necessarily mean that speech on the other side should be shut down. They're free to their feelings and expressing them.
I'm not saying it was shut down. I asked if it were an appropriate venue with paying customers coming to see a football game, and you're raising your hand in sympathy with a group who believes that white police officers are hunting down black youths. That's what they believe.
I don't think
a stated belief, Juan. It's a stated belief.
Those football players didn't state that.
They're sympathizing with the group who has stated it.
You think anybody who's upset over Ferguson says
if they raise their hands, if they raise their hands in the Don't Shoot movement, yes, I do.
Look, you got crazy people on all sides, Bill, but you think that those football players identify and say, oh, all cops are bad? That is not true.
Quite frankly, I don't think they're smart enough to know what they're doing.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't. I absolutely don't think they're smart enough to know what they're doing. But I'm trying to make a larger point that be careful who you sympathize with. Last word, Mary Catherine.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair point, I guess. And people, like I said, are more than welcome to be offended by such things. But I think they're more than welcome to make a political statement. But if a conservative player ever comes out and makes one as well, let's not punish him as well.
All right.
That
Mary
would be my
Catherine and
rule.
Juan, thanks very much. Directly ahead.